Just remember to speak up, y'all. Hey, what's going on? It's Sho Baraka. Hey, what's going on? Sho Baraka Show. Hey, let me tell you something. We're about to go live. We are live, but I'm about to tweet. I'm going to go ahead and text and let folks know. I say text. I'm going to tweet. I'm going to post stories and whatnot. But while we're doing that, I'm going to let my boys introduce themselves. You know what I'm saying? Word. We could start with Jay, since you've been here before. Yeah. Okay. Youngin'.
Word. Seems good. Yeah, I'm Jay. See? That's
what else?
No, I'm messing. Yeah. If you watched the show before, you see me here. Me and Sho go back a little bit. This is my
Go
OG.
back like babies in pacifiers.
Yep, something like that.
That's just the first thing that came to mind. I just don't understand.
I go to Blueprint. Just trying to serve the Atlanta community. We're originally from Philly. Lived in North Carolina and came down here, and since then just been trying to show and learn what I can, soak up what I can, and contribute to whatever content he's blessing y'all with on y'all's feed. So thank you for tuning in, and thank y'all for having me. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, my guy. It's always a pleasure.
Man, you ain't got no intro for me. I was waiting. I was
this is my dog Law. Go ahead, Law. Take it away.
My name is Lawrence. Just moved here back in January. It's crazy to think it's almost a year. It's nuts. But came to the Blueprint broken, wanted my cup to be refilled, and started working a job. I recently left, and I think I can officially say I got a new job. So praise God. Yeah, praise God for that. So started on Tuesday. And just looking to be in community and learn. So
go ahead.
Just let the people know where the accent from.
Gosh, bro, I can't win. I'm from South Carolina, so from the sticks, Hickory Grove. Trying to put that on the map.
Okay.
So they can have more than 500 people that live there.
And what part of South Carolina is that?
It's next to Rock Hill, up next to Charlotte. Really close.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, dope thing is I wanted to have the youngins on because I've realized that I'm not in your spheres of influence at that. Well, I don't operate in your silos.
Right.
I'm an old head now. I've accepted it.
Okay.
I get tired after 10 o'clock. I'm done. I'm that's just not my life anymore.
Your bedtime coming.
Exactly. And you guys deal with different issues. You guys live in a world where laptops. I mean, that's all you've known is internet, laptops, social media, and to some degree. And that has its own implications with the faith as well. And so I wanted to just have this conversation because you talked about brokenness. I want to talk about all the brokenness we've experienced, but I want to talk about it in the context of the faith as well. And so this is going to be a conversation really about why the faith is pertinent for young brothers in the faith, because oftentimes we find a lot of people are not only like deconstructing, but they're leaving the faith. They're abandoning the faith. Christianity, and in some ways, doesn't seem to have its utility anymore for a lot of folks. Yeah. And as we know, it does. You know, we never trusted in the culture. We trusted in Jesus. You know what I mean? Yeah. And oftentimes the culture will disappoint us. It will continue to disappoint us. And I'm talking about the best of culture, like Christian culture, church culture. Mm-hmm. It will disappoint you. And when you put your faith and your hope in that, then you will deuce it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think I have my own story, but I think we've all experienced a form of brokenness and how the church is kind of, and even if it's not the church in specifically a group of people, but Jesus and his people universally have brought us back. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And so, anyway, but before we get to that, I got some more little posting and tweeting I need to do. Sure. But like, what are some things that you guys are just engaging right now? Just culture, like music, movies, that y'all getting involved in the whole Barbie Oppenheimer thing?
Barbenheimer?
No, I hadn't even seen that. Okay. I hadn't I don't know. I haven't really experienced that. I'm big into Marvel, so I recently just finished watching the Secret Invasion and.
Oh, that's the Marvel joint. Okay, yeah. I thought you said tomorrow. I thought you said you did. That's South Carolina. I was like, yo, so forget not today. You just
tomorrow. I'm watching tomorrow.
Okay.
No, yeah, to like the comics, and so I'm not like huge into the actual comic books, but the movies.
The movie series.
Yeah.
So you can sit here and tell me with a straight face you've liked the last 4 films.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's the thing. It's been actually pretty bad.
Okay. It's been terrible. It's been
fallen off.
I do want to ask you why you think it's fallen off, and what are you, in the last few films, which ones have you liked? Why have you liked them, or whatever? How did you feel about Secret Invasion? Did you enjoy it at all?
I think the series was good up until the last episode. I think what I'm reading, and even just as I recall, it's it was 30 minutes, and it was all right. Done in 30 minutes, brought in a brand new OP character that we're okay, what she can't be stopped. But I think a lot of what's happened is they're trying to go along with what culture says, and they're getting away from a lot of things. They're trying to be too funny. I think Thor, the most recent Thor movie was
it was bad.
It was come on.
Ragnarok was great,
and
then they just tried they just overdid it.
So.
I not to change the subject, but to change the subject. Did you guys see They Clone Tyrone? Did you watch that?
Yes.
Oh no, but I want to see that one.
Yes.
Okay. Marvel movies that came out, Oppenheimer, Barbie, but the Clone.
I heard Barbie was good though.
That's gonna be.
I heard Barbie was from men. From men, they were no, you should probably see it.
You've seen it?
I have not.
Yeah, you can say you've seen it.
Okay, I mean,
I saw it, but I'm not gonna tell you.
They got that real existential
right, absolutely
going on. So that's the only reason why I'll give anyone a pass, but for the most part, I'm like.
But they said it was really funny. So anyway.
Funny?
Yeah. They Clone Tyrone. I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah.
And for whoever watches this video, but I definitely feel like there's a lot to discuss there. Mm-hmm. There are certain films. I will say this: there are certain films that have the potential to be amazing. Mm-hmm. And I thought this film had the potential to be really, really, really good. I think the things that got in its way is one that is Netflix. Netflix hardly ever makes really good movies because of, it's just, they don't have the time to produce and put effort into a film like a regular studio, like a studio does. So, so you could tell that the writing wasn't as, strong. The other thing is that it was kind of, not preachy is the word.
I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about it because I'll give all spoilers. So.
It just felt like it was. The word is just very obvious. It felt kind of like that's an obvious joke. That's an obvious direction to go. But underneath it, I think the person who is intelligent it can still be like, yo, there's something deep behind that. That's pretty.
Yeah.
So I overall, I will say watch it because I thought it was good. So anyway, how about you? What are you engaging, bro, in culture?
Culture. I don't know, man. I've been pretty
working. You just working.
Yeah, I just work and keep it low key. Get in the gym. I haven't even been listening to music like that.
But you've been making your own music though. You didn't want me to say that? You
That's
didn't want me to
crazy.
say that?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
You done did it live now.
Yeah,
It's
This
out there.
man is
That
making
is
his own music.
crazy.
All right, so did you go to
come,
Benedict
more to
College?
I didn't. So
Did you coach? Were you on staff there?
no, I wasn't. So it's
Okay, hold up.
straight up
All right.
disclaimer. First of all, I wasn't even trying to wear the shirt today, but because I knew this was gonna come up, and I was like, man, the only reason why I have this shirt is it's a 2X.
Uh-huh.
My boy, he was lives in Columbia, worked on staff with Campus Outreach, there on staff, and so he ordered this shirt, and he thought it was gonna fit him, and it didn't. So I just got a free shirt.
Gotcha.
And it's pretty nice.
I mean, you supporting HBCU, so
Yeah,
that's
that's all.
that's good. That's
Trying
fine.
to show the love.
All right, well, cool. So, apart from not engaging culture,
I mean,
are you reading anything? Is there anything like even scripture? Like, what's rocking your soul right now?
Psalms and Proverbs. Psalms in the morning, Proverbs at night. I do have a plan that I'm studying through the Bible, which has been dope. I just actually ironically wrapped up Jeremiah. But one thing that I wanted to do on top of that to just bolster, because I'll do that maybe during the day, but Psalm 1, just meditating on that, memorizing it, and then trying to apply it. I said, let me just read a psalm in the morning, and then I was like, let me just read psalms at night, and then I was like, let me read a psalm. I think it was something that came up, and I was like, man, I wish I knew a proverb for this. And so I was like, oh, let me read a psalm a day, a proverb a night, on top of actual just study and devotional time, just to try and meditate on it and get it in my system. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I do engage the culture. There's not anything that I'm like outside of the word that I'm like sitting in, but I mean, I'm on TikTok and Instagram. I'm on YouTube looking at stuff.
Yeah.
I like. This is funny. I wanted to ask: do either of y'all ever watch DJ Academics?
Nah, can't say that I do. I can't say that I've ever watched like said, you know what, I'm about to watch a DJ Academics video.
Or like listen to a podcast or something.
I've like perused through Twitter or not Twitter, Instagram, and like a video pop up, and I'll watch like a clip.
Yeah.
But I probably it's like more than 2 minutes. I've never watched. Nah.
Word. What about Jordan Peterson?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I've
That's more your
intentionally.
speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way he.
Why
talks,
was
the way he
it
thinks.
Jordan Peterson and DJ Academics, the two? They're just saying like those are the two people you listen to.
Yeah, there's some.
Okay.
Those are two that pop up on my feed a lot that I wind up
Okay.
watching.
Yeah.
Oh, I watched that Curry doc. I'm
Is
a
that-
huge Steph Curry fan.
Is
so,
that legit?
Yeah, the underrated.
I think I
on
know.
Apple
I know
TV
the
Plus.
people who were behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was hard. That's a good.
Well, that's
I can't. I'm never gonna watch that. It's on
Why?
Apple TV
You-
Plus. I
Oh,
can't
you
watch
don't
it
do
anywhere
Apple?
else.
Bro, come through.
You don't do that?
I'm Google.
Come through.
you Google. Okay.
You
You,
just-
I mean, I'm not.
That's the reason why you have friends,
crazy.
y'all. Listen, pull up.
Well,
Pull up.
I'll watch it again.
Say less.
dope. Well, yeah. For me, I've been reading a book that I am going to do a lot of talking about in the future. That I want. I just think it's. I think it's been a book. It's one of those books at every decade people talk about. I think, and there is going to be a whole lot of brouhaha about it. It's called Biblical Critical Theory by Christopher Watkins.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be one of those books like within the Christian space that
Yeah.
people. If you familiar?
No, I just it's just
I
the
just
name
heard some
alone.
words, yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's really trying to give a biblical understanding on the whole, I guess dissension around critical race or critical theory, and how there's a bunch of dissenting theories from critical theory, and he's giving you a biblical perspective. And what's interesting is I said this to my wife the other day as I'm like only like a third through the book. It's like 500 some pages, and I said, I honestly feel like this may sound very pretentious. I honestly feel like this man read my book and was like, I'm gonna write a more academic, intellectual version of this book. Because I'm like, yo, he's saying everything that I've been saying, like, this is so dope. But of course he did. He's been writing this book for 15 years. It's very possible that he read my book, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
But
Footnotes in there?
nah, I'm waiting for a Sho Baraka footnote. No, I'm
Yeah.
waiting. But the reason why I love this book is because oftentimes, very similar to why we started the AND campaign, is that there is a lot of polarizing, ideology out there, especially political, but even theological. It's like, for instance, he has this. He talks about creation, right? So it's like a systematic theology for justice or a critical theory. He starts in Genesis, it's going to end in Revelation, and he'll simply kind of break it down into these polarizing views, and he says there's a mediating view that the Bible gives, or a more centered view, and it's like there are some people who think that creation is just, as he calls, a fact. It's just a tree. Like this is just, even though this is fake. A tree is literally just a tree. There's nothing else to it.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't even care about it. Right. Like we shouldn't manage it in certain ways. There's nothing holy or there's nothing sacred about it. But then there's the polarizing view where it's like it is sacred. We worship the tree. We adore the tree as if it is God. And he's saying like no, there's a middle view of how Jesus is kind of our God has placed us in the garden to care for these things as it is good, as it is holy. Just like, God, all things that God created are for his glory and for the benefit of people. But we don't exploit it, but at the same time, we don't worship it. And so he just does that in every chapter. And there's some chapters that are really good. There's some chapters that are like, it's cool. I kind of knew, But the fact that he quotes and gives you history on where some of these thoughts came from. So that's been what I've been digging into. And so I did watch They Clone Tyrone. To you, it's like my viewing has been scattered, but I've been reading a lot, listening to a lot of podcasts, and just trying to also write and create myself. So,
Sir.
So anyway, yeah. So let's get into this discussion, my guys.
Let's go for it.
We got a whole 4 people listening and watching. Yes, and you know what I'm saying? Those 4 people are going to get blessed. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all right now. I tried to do something new by not streaming on Facebook because I want everybody to come to YouTube. And as of right now, it's not working.
You should post a link.
I did. I posted links to YouTube, but I think just getting people to have to go to another, because it'll be live as they're scrolling, they'll stop and watch. So
Yeah.
But the point is this: we are happy for the people who are viewing, and we just lost one because I guess I was complaining.
It was actually me. I had it.
So, but yo. All right, so as you are navigating culture, and either one of you guys can, as you are navigating culture and you see not only that you've experienced brokenness, but you see your friends are experiencing brokenness, and oftentimes they blame Christianity or they blame the church for their brokenness, and they abandon the faith. Like, how does that make you feel as people who hold to something that's so sacred, hold to something that's so true and beautiful, but yet people are finding it to be a violation, like it's, and not like an offense that leads them to repent, but like an offense in a stench kind of way. Like this is not useful. There's no beauty to this. There's no goodness to this. This is only an obstruction for me. How does that make you feel? Like, what are some of y'all raw emotions when you experience some of this stuff? Before we get into your own personal journey.
I think. So for me, the biggest thing I have to be reminded of is that they're not me. So, like you just said, like before I even think about my own personal experience, and it's like, bro, why are you dipping out? Like, we're sticking this together. I think the second thing I feel is like I'm sad. Yeah. Because funny enough, like your dad was talking about this like a year ago when we were at a CO thing. Just talking about people leaving the faith. Yeah. Like you've seen them be like strong in it for a minute, and then all of a sudden it's just like they dipping out. And I'm just reminded that, one, like I said, I'm sad, but also just like Satan ain't stopping, right? Yeah. Like, so I think it's my first like initial like raw emotions, like dang, like don't go, I want you to stay, but like also I don't know.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, a lot of pain. I think also understanding we knew this would happen, understanding Jesus is still on the throne, understanding that until they breathe their last, their story's not done. Understanding that, learning to understand that doesn't necessarily mean failure on my part. The success is being faithful with how I stewarded the relationship. I don't bring the increase, God does. Amen. But battling and dealing with that is really difficult. And I think one of the harder things to deal with, I think if someone just straight up says, hey, I'm an unbeliever now, you know what I'm saying? I don't believe this. I at least know how to deal with them. And you deal with them as one who's not a believer. You pray that they don't antagonize the faith, and start attacking Christianity.
Right.
But that's something you can work through, and you can begin to re-evangelize and be a light, and you can begin to see the difference between lifestyles and allow them to recognize, wisdom is justified by her children. What I'm experiencing now, after the wave of full-on deconstruction, is I'm still a Christian, but I'm going to live contrary to everything about Christianity that is a fruit of the Spirit. Because that's lumped in with what I deconstructed. But still calling themselves a Christian, still would try and use the lingo and jargon whenever it benefits them. And because I think in most of our heart of hearts, we do know the utilitarian
absolutely.
benefits of just God's way in his world. And so it's like, well, I'm going to take the benefits of the love that Christians show, the care, the support.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to throw away anything besides that, pretty much.
Yeah, it's the Christianity of convenience. The things that bring great convenience to me, I'll accept. But the moment those challenges actually kick up against my own personal interest and self,
And that's the one
sentiments.
that I think honestly brings me more pain.
Yeah.
When someone walks away, the Bible talks about what you do in that situation in terms of church discipline. You're handing him over to Satan, or you're basically just saying, we release you from the standards of, or the lifestyle of, or judging you through the lens of, this is a Christian. But there are people now in today's society that the way I live and the way that they live can't be, like the way I live can't really be a witness to them. It can, but they're just going to view it as, that's just how you do your Christianity and this is how I do mine. That's really, really painful.
And I think this is why the emphasis of the church is paramount. Because, and not just a community of people who would say that they're Christians and that's the church and that suffices. It's because church discipline in that context is so important, because it's like, well, what we're doing in some ways is saying, this is supposed to be your support and your safety. Right. And if you don't want this anymore, then good luck in the world, because they're going to eat you alive. The problem is to your point, Christianity is so infused itself within our society that it's not necessarily, like, you can still be someone who doesn't live the Christian life and reap the rewards of the Christian experience in this country. No matter how much beef we got with America and the West, the reality is the West has been like infiltrated with the principles of Christianity. So the ideas of justice, the idea of treating people right. Like, I'm listening to all this Greek philosophy and history about Greek ideas, and Plato, bro, his chief idea was like, no, people aren't created equal. And there are some people who should be born slaves. And this is crazy to me, right? Just imagine if we lived in that world, and there are people who absolutely, not only just in their mind and like in their little cliques, like, these some folk, but like that was a prevailing thought, and they instituted that. Then you have to have a community of people who are like, no, we believe that you are equal and you can operate amongst us for that particular safety. But when you live in a society where there's no real, like, genuine persecution for exiting outside of that particular community, then people will do it without any consequence. If that and that's, so I say that, and I'll pass it on to you, Lawrence. The other reason why I think it's pertinent is because being a part of the Christian, like the church, is not just beneficial for the the purposes of discipline and repentance. Is because, like, true fellowship helps me to grow. I am participating in your growth. I am helping you become a better person. You're helping me. And I think oftentimes we enter into this as very transactional consumers. And we just want to, what do we get out of this? What do we get out of this? And I think that is extremely spiritually mature for someone to say, no, the reason why I am a part of a family of believers is not just so what I can get out of it. It's because what people can get from me as well. Even if I'm loathing like the teaching right now, it's like, or even if I'm not crazy about the worship music, or even if I'm not crazy about like they're not doing all the programs that I want to do, I am here to help this community grow.
You'd be hard pressed to find our generation talking like that.
Yeah. And well, when you live in a society where it's like if you don't like it, just move on. Relationships, jobs, church. I mean, you know, food, everything.
Everything. Man, it's like
algorithms.
Yeah.
Facts. We live in it, just swipe. Like I'm dissatisfied. Move on. Dissatisfied.
Yeah. I think about like that with church. It's like, man, that's like hard too. Though I think the other side of it is like, because I've also seen, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit later, but it's like, hey, this might not be good, but I don't know where else to go. Like maybe I do need to leave, but now it's like, I'm trying to stay. I'm trying to be here, and then it's like, nah, like it just ain't working.
Yeah.
That's why I a little bit my own like thoughts on my story, but when I listen to you, you're right. It's like there's so many options, there's so many things to do, but it's like I think it has to be spirit led at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
Like coming here to Atlanta, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like I didn't want to come to Atlanta. It wasn't my choice. I was either gonna go to Dallas and hang out with my boy, like kick it with him, or
go hang out with my boy sounded so simple. That sounded so like I was gonna go. That was one of the
tear the city up.
Exactly. I was gonna go my boy. You know what I'm saying, my boy. I'm sorry.
No. We he lives in Dallas, and just like the Lord's done a lot in his life, being a part of Matt Chandler's church down there. So, just being able to.
But what about Atlanta? Like, what about Atlanta was like you that you were disinterested in it?
Oh man, there's a few things, but I think ultimately it was just like, truthfully, before even just knowing Atlanta, I'm like, I don't want to go there because traffic's terrible. Like everybody says the same thing from everywhere else. It's
That's
like,
enough.
Yeah. But when it came down to like just getting here, being known by people in the church, there's two people who already were going here that I was like, man, if I go there, they will know me.
Yeah.
And then the Lord just blessed me more than what I could know. Like getting to City Group. I think we met my first Sunday here, and then we kicked it off ever since then. And,
Brewski introduced us.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Brewski just told me, hey, I have a friend who's going to be there. Can you say what's up, I think?
Yeah.
And then I didn't meet him that week or that day or something, or he wound up not coming, and then the next time.
All right, so y'all just having all kind of side
Yeah.
conversations.
I'm sitting here thinking,
It's crazy. Just reflecting, you know.
Yeah. But like, I think what got me here is obviously the Lord. That's where He wanted to be. Like, I took a job that, I did. I was like, maybe this will work out. And then 3-4 months in, I'm like, nah, this ain't gonna work out. I gotta get out. And it just came full circle. Like, the job I have now, they rejected me, or they told me no last year. And then I got 6 months of experience, and then like right at the 6 months, like they hit me up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shoot. So yeah, I think there's I forgot where I was going with that, but it's tough. I took your chair.
All right, so all right, so how have you guys navigated through your own personal brokenness in this time, and not punted the faith? You know what I mean? Because look, the reality of it is that there's a lot of cultural baggage that has come with the things that we've been taught or discipled into, and some of that stuff has been exceptional for us, and some of that stuff has not been exceptional for us. And to some degree, there is a sense of how do you begin to evaluate what is of the Lord and what is of culture. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean things that are of culture need to definitely dissipate, but maybe those things need not to guide you in a way in which they guide you as biblical principles do. So as you guys have navigated through, I mean, you're still young men, and you're going to go through more like eras and seasons of change and transition. But how have you guys dealt with this great exodus of the church and the faith, if you will?
I say right leading up to the pandemic, a little bit into it, but before it ended, so to speak. That's a little bit nebulous, but I had I had a little season where I was wilding and backsliding. You know what I'm saying? Number of reasons. That's another conversation. But
It could be this conversation.
Huh?
It could be this conversation if you want it to be.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I'm
We
just.
open
I
that
mean,
door.
part of it was pressures that I put on myself that I felt coming from my parents and the type of legacy they have.
Yeah.
And especially in the environment that we were in. It was kind of like my parents were big fishes in small ponds pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
And so that means a lot of eyes are on you, you know, in that pond, or, you know, so to speak. And so just, you can't always measure up. And I don't think my parents expected me to measure up.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, they would be surprised at how well I handled things. Like, man, he hasn't, like, ever had a moment where we're like, oh, okay, like, you know, and it was just hiding it, you know, and suppressing it. And it all came to a head for a season in my life where I was just mainly just escaping, you know, just looking for any sorts of escapes and living a double life. And
But you will say that the faith was real to you, though.
yes, so since I believed, I have always believed. And this is what I was gonna say. I came to a point where during that season, especially once the conversation started coming up and people started talking about deconstructing, where, you know, the devil approached me with that same, you know, offer, so to speak, you know, like I was fielding the question of like, man, do I know? Do I believe in God? Like, is any of this stuff real? Is this? All I could think is, just like from the moment that we shook hands and had a conversation and interacted, I can't, no, even if I don't like you, even if I hate your guts, I cannot say I don't know Sho. Sho does not exist.
Yeah.
I've encountered Jesus
Amen.
in a real way. He's walked with me. And for me, the benefit is he's walked with me. Well, for all of us, he's walked with me my entire life, our entire lives. But I've had a walking relationship with Jesus since my youth. That has been real on my own, you know, not just my parents' religion, you know. And I faced those seasons where I had to answer those questions myself. But I'm like, I know Jesus. I've experienced Jesus. I've encountered Jesus. I can't deny him. And that's ultimately pivotal in what brought me back.
Amen.
Just healthy levels of shame at the way that I was dishonoring Jesus, and people coming at the right time with timely words, not knowing my situation when they spoke it into my life, and brought me to repentance. And so
Man, that's like I felt a lot of what you were talking about. Just like mine was living in sin, and leading up to just finally at some point, like through like last year, just confessing it. And I think like I would even say that I agree with you. It's like the whole time I'm a believer and I know it. Like it's just like I'm like stuck here. And that's where like that's the realness of like, even just to talk a little bit more about it, was like before confessing, it's like, man, Satan had this like, or it felt like he had this grip on me that I couldn't say anything. And as soon as I say something, it's gonna crumble.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, what I thought, probably even what I felt was everybody was going to do this.
Yeah.
Bro.
But wait, why did you not say, like, because I'm gonna share mine after this. Why did you not say anything?
Because, man,
You just felt like
reasons,
you were gonna lose everything.
I think it was a little bit of like lose. I think I was more concerned about like what the perception of me was going to be, and then on top of that, it's like, man, like now I'm gonna have to actually face this. Like,
come on,
I gotta actually deal with this.
Because the hiding it is so, like, just keeping that thing under the rug and in the closet is so. It's like, this is cool. I can deal with this until you can't deal with it.
And then it's like, finally it's like it hit a point. It was crazy. Like, honestly, the Lord just started doing stuff probably in like January last year, and all the way up until it was, ironically enough, I'll never forget my 26th birthday, because this is when it all just came to light. And I was like, finally, like, just confessed. Not like I had already kind of confessed it, but then just told the whole truth, and then had to do it like two or three more times that day. And the response that came afterwards was like, And I was like, dang. Lord was like, yep. Like I tried to tell you. Like it was like the response. So like instead of being pushed away, I felt more like just.
Oh, bro,
loved.
let me tell you, like, the Bible is not lying when it says he who confesses his sin has mercy. Like, it's life. It's life giving because it's always better. Look, listen, it is always better to confess your sin than to get caught in it.
Absolutely.
Because, man, people, it takes courage. You know, I think about the shame, because I think what we're talking about is there's a bit of shame that hovers over you.
Absolutely.
And the reason why Satan has that hold over you is because shame keeps you in bondage to him. And as long as you're allowing that shame to own you, then you don't communicate. Like, you just like, you know, and you think you're operating in some sort of power, but you're not, man. You're operating in deficiency.
Yes.
Right.
And the thing is as soon as you confess and you communicate that, there goes his power, because he has nothing to hang over you.
Yep.
It's like he's no longer in your pocket. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The moment you get him out your pocket, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
The moment you get him out your pocket, you have liberty. And it's like, well, look, because for me it was, all right, same things. Like, bro, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose everything. Perception of people, why I think people think I'm special or important anyways, is a flawed perspective.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
this is the thing. We often want our... We do so much crying before the Lord, talking about how we're sinful people in need of Jesus, and we come to him saying, Lord, I'm nothing. Save me, oh wretched man that I am, only to cover that up the rest of our lives.
Absolutely.
To cover it up with leaves. That's Adam and Eve, bro. That's what Adam and Eve did. Their whole idea is like, how do I achieve godness without having actually vulnerability before him?
Yes.
It's amazing. The whole Christian faith is about being vulnerable, but then we try to create this facade about being pristine.
Yes.
And so I had this veneer about me, like, man, I'm gonna lose respect for people. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And so I was like, I'm just gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it a thing. And then the moment you communicate it, you feel liberated beyond belief. You feel so liberated.
Yeah.
And it's like you are a new person. Like, I literally felt like I got saved again.
Yes. Yes.
I literally
Yes.
felt like
Oh, man.
I was like, man, the Lord has breathed new life in me.
So crazy.
But yeah, it's I would just encourage people, like, deal with the sin, bro, because the longer you try to live with it, it just becomes heavier and heavier, and it weighs on you. And I thought, like, I was like, man, you know what? I'll wait 5 years and I'll confess.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'll get 5 years down the road and I'm gonna confess this thing.
That's one of the major, like, lies that I tell myself, and I guess I'm kind of asking if this is y'all too, where it's like, I'm gonna just conquer this, then later on talk about it, you know, and tell people like, yo, I used to struggle with this, you know. Hey, confess what I used to do rather than like experiencing the freedom now, telling yourself that you're going to conquer it, you're going to defeat it, and then you can go ahead and be honest.
Yeah.
And so it's just day after day, another day, I didn't conquer it today. I'm going to tell tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know,
Tomorrow.
next week.
Yo.
And now it's years of you walking in whatever sin you're walking in, or whatever shame or fear or guilt or
Absolutely.
omission.
But I think the reason, and so another reason why I didn't communicate is because oftentimes we don't see publicly, let's say publicly, there are definitely examples, probably privately, we don't see oftentimes publicly good stories of restoration or good examples of restoration.
Yes.
Because oftentimes when we hear about somebody falling or doing something that is outside of that is outside of reproach or not above reproach, the response or the consequences are so punitive.
Right.
But oftentimes those are people who probably got caught in their sin. But even if you are caught in sin, it doesn't mean that God can't forgive you just as much as an individual who confesses their sin.
Absolutely.
Right? And I do think I think the church has to do a better job of recognizing that sin is a thing.
Right.
Like, we are going to fall.
Yeah.
Now, it's truly about repentance. Like, so once that person does commit whatever sin, how do they handle the repentant process? Are they truly going to turn away from that thing and try to restore, whatever the locusts have eaten. Because what we do is we take everything away from them. You know what I mean? And it's really interesting, especially when you're in a Christian space.
Yes.
Like, we snatch every activity that they've ever done. We invalidate any kind of good teaching they've done. It's like they're no longer useful.
Right.
And it's so amazing because there is not too many people in the scriptures that we can look at and see that their sinful actions didn't invalidate them
Right.
and the work that they did. If anything, we still herald them. We still talk about them. And this wasn't like people who sinned they did egregious things.
Right.
The way we talk about David.
Yes. I'm like, it blows my mind.
It blows. Let somebody do half the things that David did today.
Oh.
The church would not only kick that person to the curb, but then we would go preach David's praises, in the pulpit the same Sunday.
Right.
It's just amazing to me. I'm just like, it's appalling, the fact that, and I think that's because of how we've distanced ourselves from the idea of we are broken people. Like, the moment we stop thinking of ourselves as folks who are wretched, apart from the Spirit of God, I think that's when we start to promote and propagate dangerous ideas and doctrines and theologies. But anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think to your point. So like, that was me actually. So for a time, like it like initially when everything went down, in reality all I had to do is just be like, yo, this is what's going on, and like probably a lot of things would have been different in the relationship, everything like that, but didn't say anything, and so this went on for like years, and that's where I was like last year when I finally confessed it. It was like, nah, let me tell you the whole truth. Like, this has been going on for this long. It's like, oh, it's like, yeah, but you're like, the two goes together because what I felt was, man, like for a time it was like, well, it's not even like I'm good, I can conquer this. Maybe I can be able to tell somebody, hey, this is what happened, this is what's going on, and I'm good. And it was just only like a short time after that, it was like, nah, I'm not good. Like, it's started back. So like, and then and you're right, I never saw like anything like good come from people really telling, like truly confessing. It felt like, and you're probably right, it was like getting caught. For me, at one point, is even praying that I would just get caught, so it'd be like, all right, cool.
Bro, me too.
Like,
Me too.
Like, I'm like, I hope I get caught.
I was like, because I was too cowardly to confess.
Yes.
I was too cowardly to. I was too cowardly because some of the people in my life. I was
Yes.
like, I'm scared of them.
Yes.
But
Right.
I was too cowardly to do it. But to your point, I was afraid. But here's what's really interesting, and I know of a dude who was going on a mission trip, and through a certain organization, and so I guess they ask you a series of questions before they, you go on his mission trip. And this individual had confessed that he watched porn within the last year, I think. And so they were like, well, I'm sorry, you can't go on this mission trip. And I was like, are we serious right now? That's the kind of punitive damage that I feel like. So you're saying that everybody who's been on a mission trip that you said you truly believe that none of those folks have watched porn, like, period, ever.
Really?
12 months in a day.
I'm like, what in no? And so for me, the fact that individual confessed that he wrote on or typed whatever that yes, I have done this, to me shows a level of maturity, if anything, because he's communicating like, yes, this is an area where I've been weak, or this is, and I will be honest. If anything, we come around that individual and say, oh man, bless it, bro. Let's give you some guidelines and some helps and some restrictions while you're on this mission trip to make sure, everything is above board, rather than saying we're going to remove this wonderful opportunity for you to share God's truth with people. That you are invalidated. You are invalidated from sharing the gospel of Christ to people just because you've sinned within the last year.
11 months. 12 month,
Yeah.
It could have been 11 months ago, and you're disqualified. After confessing.
Like, that blows my mind, no? That blows my mind. So anyway, I'm like, bro, if you watched it last week, I'm like, look, let's talk about it. Let's talk. And if anything, probably what you need is a mission trip to be around people who are saturated with God's love.
Yes.
And the whole point is for you to be around sharing the gospel, the love of Jesus, not to send you back home to be in the darkness by yourself and pity. Because oftentimes what people are going to do is like, I'm wallowing in my self-pity, and what are we going to do? He's going to return to vices that are not healthy for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking like that. The truth, there's even truth in that, because I don't think if I wasn't on staff, that I don't know if I would have confessed. And I think that would even led to me being that person that you see walk away.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm not surrounded by the truth, being convicted all the time, and it's like some point this is gonna have to break.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like as for the longest, and even up until like finally like confession, it's like I needed that, like constantly being around Christians to be reminded, like, hey, this is like what you're doing is wrong. And then finally it was just like the floodgates broke, and it was like, all right, like Lord, like choosing to believe that 1 John like chapter 1, the last 5 verses are true, or however many verses are there. But that's like, you're right. Like it's crazy to me, and it blows my mind. And I mean, I still see it, and I've even seen it in trying to say this generally, but like I've seen it happen to other people that are close to me, that they choose to tell the truth, and it's responded to by the church. It's like, okay, you told us, thank you for telling us, you can't come here. And it's like, or you can't come on staff here anyway. And
it's just because we don't know what to do with sin, bro. Because we don't know what to do. Because communicators, and I'm not just talking about pastors, but most communicators do not communicate their struggles. Because oftentimes, if the rule is if you communicate your struggles too much, then people will associate you to being like, disqualified yourself from actually giving them any kind of insight to a thing. And then there's probably the extreme of that where all they do is talk about how, like, there's no victory in Jesus. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, okay, like, you at some point, maybe you should stop preaching and just, and like sit down, like saturate yourself in prayer, fasting, in the scriptures, and community, and then maybe come back to communicating, because all you do is talk about your struggles. Like, it's like, well, but there's a medium, Paul, and there's much debate about who he's talking about, what he's talking about, what was his spiritual state in Romans 7 and whatnot. But it's clear that Paul talks about a wrestle in the flesh. And Jesus is being that answer in Romans 8. Like, there is no condemnation in us, bro, for those who love us. You talk about your personal experience. Like, how did you, I guess, what were you feeling coming to the other side of that? And what are some things that you know now that you would tell yourself as you were in that? Like, what would today Jeremiah tell, wilding out Jay?
The thing that brought me, I had a bit of a Jonah moment where it was just like, every time I would tell myself, all right, I'm gonna just fix it. All right, I gotta fix it now, At first I got to the point where I'm like, I have my doubts, and I'm like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I know Jesus, so I gotta get it together. And I tried to do it on my own strength, and I just kept tanking. Everything that I touched, everything that I was trying to manage and hold well and be the perfect whatever, it fell apart. Job situation, finances, relationships, like, it was just a whole lot. And it was coming to a point where I'm like, I'm either going to crash and burn, or like, I can confess, And what happened was, when I felt like I need to confess, but I was too fearful, I had 2 different conversations with brothers who, good friends of mine. One of them was not a believer when I first met him, and got to walk with him through, and just see him 180 and be transformed. And he's in ministry now. And then another one, at the time, we both had similar struggles and were sharing about them. And we just followed up, met up to follow up and hang out. And both encounters, they both were telling me, yeah, I just went and I talked to my pastor about XYZ. I confessed, and now I'm doing great. Both times. And so I was like, duh. There we go. Like, it was like whatever fear I had or whatever was holding me back, the Spirit sent those two brothers in contact with me to help me understand what's really going to happen if I'm willing to confess. And then when I confessed, I was met only with love, with mercy, with acceptance, with like, you know, people cried or they asked their questions and then they said, all right, well, thank you for telling us. Amen. Here's what we can do to help you be whole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if that's, you know, that's necessary. If people are just like, oh man, it's good you shared, and they just send you on your way, there's something wrong with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be some like, bro, like that's not acceptable. It's not good, but we love you. What can we do to make sure you don't do this bullshit no more?
I had a pastor. I was trying to explain everything that was going on. I'm like, because I just felt like this, you know, and I was explaining it, and he was like, look, there are trees that grow in the rainforest and trees that grow in the desert. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just blame circumstances for not growing. God's going to make you whatever you need and give you the circumstances you need to grow. You know what I'm saying? You cannot be pointing out and blaming everything around you. And I was like, I thought this was the time where you were going to be like, man, thanks for telling me. Or so, you know, I wasn't ready for this combo yet, but it was real. It was, I was like, man,
and you can also tell, like, I felt like in my first couple of weeks of confessing, I was over-explaining stuff.
Yes.
I was over-explaining because I was trying to control the narrative. And after a while, it was like, you know what? The reality of it is Sho, this is not about you. Like, it's about sin. Like, the reason why you got here in the first place is you trying to operate the narrative that God had already, like, you know, worked out. And you are trying your best. But you said something that was pivotal, bro, like about being on staff and that leading you to, the reason why I came back to Blueprint was because I knew, like, I was dying. I was wasting away. David talks about, you know, my bones became my tears became my food all day and night. And, you know what I'm saying? My bones were wasting away. That was my life. I was like, but the thing is nobody could, I think some people could tell, but overall, you think you're fooling people because you're still doing things that are, I guess, adjacent to the church. You're doing spiritual things. You have a platform. You're speaking. You're doing X, Y, and Z. And the tension becomes that, for me, like, I am speaking authoritatively to issues that are adjacent to the church and the faith, but really anybody who's read a book can speak to, but I'm just attaching Jesus to it. And all the whole time I am taking on this anger, this dissension, this kind of divisiveness that I think is godly, but really what it's doing is eating me away. And that's why I think it is very important, if you are out here trying to be a part of some sort of justice movement, you're an activist, you have to be saturated in the Word of God. Like, you have to be praying, fasting, because it is one of the most, it's a very dark place to be. You're talking about you're trying to bring justice to a dark world. The whole idea of injustice is darkness. It is Satan. You can't fight darkness with darkness. And oftentimes what we do is we allow the sociology and the philosophies of the world to guide us in how we are to engage the darkness.
Right.
Bro, the only thing that you can do is use the love of God. And yes, I said love of God intentionally. Because oftentimes we think what we do is we take and love of God doesn't mean to be cowardly. The love of God means to be meek, like it is to be strong, to be victorious, but also to have a humble posture. You know what I'm saying? And I think oftentimes what we do is we just borrow from the world's philosophy and put Jesus on it. And what it's doing is eating you alive. You're taking on the rage of the world. You're just carrying all this angst and anger. And that's what I was doing. I was carrying all this anger and angst. And then the next thing I knew, I didn't even really find myself like actually enjoying Christianity. I was enjoying the things of the world and just attaching Christianity to it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, bro, I just found myself doing things that I was like, I thought I would never do this. Ew.
Yeah.
So what happened was I had left Blueprint. I come back to Blueprint. I was like, I just need to be around Christians. I don't care if they look like me. I don't care if they dress. I was like, I just need to be around some people who all they want to do is talk about Jesus. Because shout out to all my wonderful friends, but most of the conversations I would have around people who were outside of the church were justice, race conversations. And after a while, I was just like, bro, I want to talk about something other than race. Like I just want somebody to just talk about Jesus, bro. Like, and I just realized and I just start coming to church, and I started being like, bro, this is what I need. I just need to be, and being in that particular context just led me to a life of repentance, bro.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. That's good. I think the same thing. I like, even last year, it's like the realization that I had to not isolate, and the people. I'm super thankful for the people that were around just during that time, and getting like in my church that I was in at the time, like wasn't. I honestly don't think I received the best response from the pastoral care there, but like the people in the church, like my small group leaders and people in my small group, like they were my rock while I was there. And then my homie out in Texas, we talk every day, and like you said, I just needed people to remind me, and even just there be days where it's like, man, I just don't know, man. I'm ready. I'm done. But the reality was that the Lord was doing what I was asking him to do, was like what Cody Carnes said in his song, like nothing else. Like
Cody who?
Cody Carnes, is that his name?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
he does
rapper,
worship.
singer,
worship.
He got this song "Run to the Father."
Run to the Father. I was blasting that. But his song.
Let me go ahead.
Hey,
Cody what? Cody what? Cody who?
Cody Carnes.
Is that a K or C?
C. Both.
Right.
It's like Carne with an S at the end.
Okay.
But like that song, nothing else is what in reality was what I needed, and that's what I think the Lord was doing for me. So it was a little bit different, where it was like a lot of my friends. I mean, I was still around a bunch of friends, even like outside.
Oh, he's the one that sings for Foundation.
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
He got some. He got some hitters.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you good. He's good. And so, but his song "Nothing Else," I had heard it ironically in January of that year, and didn't realize how pivotal it would be for me for the rest of the year. It was like I just want to be here and like worship at your feet, like laying all my sins down in front of you. And that's where I would say, like, even kind of what this conversation is about. It's like what the world tells you is like, and what I even realized up until that point was like, I'm going to do this, and I think Jesus was like, nah, just come here, like lay it all right here. And then I like not even just laying the sin, like I'm gonna lay here as well, because it's like it's still just as much me as much as like the sin. And just being, I think, the community, the people, being around people, like you said, just talking about Jesus, reminding me of the truth. Yeah. Even as I'm reminding myself, it's like, nah, they're still going to remind you of the truth. I'm like, man, this is what I need.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love kind of tying in what both of you said, because I thought about this when you were speaking, is one thing that I think the church, as it's being blasted to the world, has kind of failed at is simplicity especially in the spiritual discipline. So I really feel like just that spiritual discipline series we had was really good.
Oh yeah, that's
and specifically thinking about remembering the sin of the Israelites in the what could have been an 11-day journey is they talked about everything that God needed to fix instead of remembering who God will be.
What he just did. Yes.
Right. Yes. And in the same way, that's something that you went through, and I feel like that's something that our current generation is stuck in. Even the church is stuck on
simplicity.
Everything that Jesus needs to fix still, rather than reflecting on everything he has fixed and what he will fix. You know what I'm saying? And in its time, in its due timing. And how can we join in on that work? You know what I'm saying? And so
that's beautiful, because here's a very lazy hypothesis I've come up with recently is that I find that a lot of the reason why I would say even Christian hip hop has lost its Christianness is because of simplicity is boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just listening to a bunch of like old some my old I'm gonna put myself in there. I'm not talking about like oftentimes people talk about Christian hip hop and they just talk about like you think I'm talking about like Lecrae or I'm talking about myself too. I listened to my album in 2007 and 2010, bro, and Jesus was made much of.
Right.
We were just excited to just rap for Jesus, and there was a sense of theology and doctrine, but it was very missional, it was evangelical, and evangelical not in the sense of like culture, but evangelical in like in the act of sharing the faith. Evangelistic, yes. And the older we got, the more book smart we got, the less Jesus was enough. You know what I mean? It was, oh, Jesus plus this or Jesus plus that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and I'm not saying, because I still believe in my heart of hearts that you do not have to write good songs and only talk about Jesus. But there is something to that, a whole genre that considers itself Christian hip hop, like, I feel like it's missing its Jesusness. Like, to me, that is, like, it shouldn't be where 50% of the artists are just trying to be cultural engagers without the saltiness of Jesus. It should be the overwhelming amount of Christian hip hop artists are people who are Christians are trying to like promote their, and I hate to use this term, but they're giving their propaganda of the world.
Right.
Like this is what I believe about the world because everybody else preaches their particular gospel. Nobody holds back from what they believe. Nobody holds back from what they believe. But for some reason, we feel like we have to do that in order to be effective.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, there's a way of being very dope
Yeah.
while at the same time talking about what you love most.
Right.
And I'm honestly starting to believe like maybe we just don't love Jesus the way we used to or say we do. He's become a sociology, if you will, and not a biblical truth. It's a
Right.
It's a means for what, and this is in a lot of ways, as much as I find benefits in the Black liberation theology, that's what a lot of people view Black liberation theology as. It's not really people who truly believe in the orthodoxy of the scriptures. What they believe is that God has his hand on a particular group of people, and the Exodus narrative is basically an explanation of how he is going to have empathy for people who are oppressed, if you will. And so it's more about the corporeal liberation than it is an actual cognitive, like a real belief that we actually hold on to.
Right.
And to me, I'm just like, bro, like don't allow the philosophies of man, the wittiness of human beings to make us feel like Jesus and the simplicity of the spiritual disciplines are not enough.
Yes. Yeah.
We're at and the way they've done that is the subtlety of racism, of getting us to think that everything that is of kind of like this particular ilk is evangelical, it's racist, it was cooked in this cauldron of white supremacy, and if you believe in orthodoxy, that's a white man's thing. Bro, Africa was on orthodoxy way before the Reformation. And so it blows my mind that we've allowed this to seep into our cultural influence. So that's just my little hobby work. But anyway,
That's a real.
yep. So I wanted to so on the outro as we kind of close this thing out, what are you hopeful for? Like I don't want to just talk about the things that we've been burdened about, but we are also hopeful for.
Yeah.
So because I look at you gentlemen, bro, and I'm just excited that I get to do life with young men like y'all. I look at what's happening at our particular, city group at Blueprint, and I walk into that space and I see just almost like just a motley crew of folks who look different, but there's this young fire. And if people are saying that Christianity is not reaching a particular demographic of people, like this is an evidence that. And so, so. It's for either one of you.
Yeah, I'll start off. So, what am I hopeful for? Wow, man, that's a lot. I'm gonna start with when I look at like even as I'm here, right? I think about like it's becoming more 6 months in. I feel like God's still showing me, hey, you know, you're here and you need to be here right now and present. Like this was like. When I got to hear, and I told you this a million times, but listening to you talk that day, I was like, wow, like, you're evidence of somebody can confess sin and then be loved well. And I received that even last year, but then even still be in the church to where it's like convicted me because I'm like, man, maybe I need to just like step back in and start like trying to like lead again if that's what the Lord wants me to be in different ways like that. But, so I think I'm hopeful because I'm continuing to learn why I'm here. Even though I didn't want to be here. Sometimes I'm like, I still don't know if I want to.
Hey, stop saying you don't want to be here. That's the last time I'm gonna let you. You said it like six times. You said it like 6 times. We're gonna tackle you. Say it one more time. I know you got some size on you. You got some size on you, but we'll take you down.
That ain't gonna happen. But like, and then, so even just thinking about the past and I look at things that happened, I'm like, Lord, like, I'm learning that He is still a redeemer.
Absolutely.
So as He's redeeming me, I'm like, pray He redeems all the things that like this people I've sinned against and things that happened in the past. I'm like, pray You redeem that, redeem those relationships and redeem those people. And then last but not least, the Lord's continuing to teach me that like how much I need Him. I look at like how I was on staff and it's always my first thought to try to share the gospel with people. And then like in my past job, I was convicted because I don't know who I didn't try to share the gospel with anybody.
Yeah.
I just became a person, and we talked about this last week where it was like I started looking like them. Like it's crazy. Like even in this past few months, like it was like cussing got bad. Like it was just bad, and it's like, man, I was becoming just a product of everything around me. To now where I'm like I'm hopeful because I know I'm looking forward to what the Lord's going to do in this next job and get me out of this season where I was and people I was around, and that's continuing to invest in Blueprint in my city group. That not only is my cup going to be filled, but I'm going to be able to fill others' cups.
Yeah.
Jay, Saint Jeremiah.
It was like, all right.
Got that mixtape coming.
No, my goodness.
It's called J Slim. It's called Prophet Slim.
Wow. Why'd you tell him the name, man?
So
you just ruined the whole rollout.
Hey,
You just ruined the whole rollout.
I'm trying to help you out. My bad, bro.
Nah. I am hopeful for revival. I am hopeful for revival, specifically in my generation and below. Just seeing, well, specifically like that, Millenn Z. Like, I want to see, like, the OGs that have remained, or even the ones that come back, like, just give their all and be able to see the fruits of their labor. And I want to be a part of it. And I want to see it, catch fire to where the people that walked away during the deconstruction era see the wisdom of what Christianity is and recognize that wisdom only goes so far unless you are connected to the power, and the power comes directly from Jesus Christ and His Spirit inside of you, and that they would want that. I pray to all the people I know that have walked away from the faith or walked away from walking like they're in the faith, and even if they happen to see this, I want them to know. I pray that they get everything that they've ever wanted. I pray that they run hard at it. They run and get everything they wanted, and it does not satisfy them. They come to the end of themselves and realize that they need Jesus. This is something I actively pray over them, because it won't satisfy. Absolutely. Like you said, Jesus will. And so I'm looking forward to just continuing to work until the day where we get to see that kind of wave come back and like,
Yeah.
yo, this is crazy.
Yeah, that made me think about Jim Carrey said this. He said, "I hope."
Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey.
The comedian?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was like a theologian
No,
named Jim
no,
Carrey.
no, no. That's even like crazier. It's like he said, I hope everybody could get rich and famous and will have everything they ever dreamed of, so they will know that is not the answer. And I'm like, he said that. I love that quote because I think it's true. And it's the same thing. Like, I share the same dream. It's like, man, I hope that as I look around, even in our city group, like, man, we got a lot of strong young Christians in there that I'm like, if we all just stick together, we run this race together, like, God's gonna be glorified. And
Absolutely.
And like he said, like, I pray that we would not look to what we want, but what the Lord wants for us.
Yeah. C.S. Lewis has a quote too. He says, "If we look around and we find that this world doesn't have the things that, or we find that we're
Had it.
if we it's like
I know what you're
yeah.
going, but I'm
He
like-
says if we find that there's nothing in this life that satisfies us, basically, the only logical explanation is that we were made for another world."
Yes. Yes.
Do you remember Everyday Process?
Uh-huh.
Yo, they have that album Alien,
Uh-huh.
and at the beginning of the intro song,
Uh-huh.
they say that quote.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So as soon as you said, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you got the alien voice on.
So yeah, I think we must come to a realization that like this is not the world of which we are made for.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Yes, sir.
God has created us for something more glorious. So there goes Rachel says, if I find myself desiring nothing in this world, can say, oh nope, that wasn't the quote. I'm sorry. She's just
Try.
It's a constant.
somebody said it, but is that brother in underwear?
Dude, nah, bro. That's love. Hey, I love that because I love roasting people, so I appreciate it. Appreciate the realness. But they're here. They're just short.
That's crazy
These
because
guys-
he said something about it right before
Right
before we
before I
hit
said
live.
that,
He
I
said,
said-
"Man, I didn't even mean to wear these."
Yeah. So it's close. I conclude that it says, if I find myself desiring nothing in this world can satisfy, I can only conclude that it was not made for here. And yes, mere Christianity. That's one of those books I have to read like every 2 years. It's such a wonderful book. I love that book. So anyway.
I need to read more. Y'all
Yeah.
been killing me with that.
Oh, bro.
Hey.
So anyway, yo, any thoughts on anything? So one of the things that we, for those who watch, I will be out of town next Sunday, vacationing. So I will not be on a live
got it.
stream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got you.
So, yeah. Okay.
Sho Baraka
Yeah.
featuring no show.
No show. But I'm here.
So,
though.
so, anything? Any last words? Any last encouragement? No, yeah. I saw that it was the quote. My bad. I only read the first part and I didn't finish it. So, yeah. I actually started reading. So somebody mentioned Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I was reading his book on discipleship, which is powerful. So, yeah. Anything? Any thoughts? Any? What's up?
Have we announced the August?
I don't know if that's something that's outside of the church though. So we are going to be doing. So our church. You talking about the Issachar
Yeah,
church?
yeah.
So, because I don't know if we're going to be streaming that. So if you're in Atlanta, or if you want to drive to Atlanta, on August 25th, we're going to be doing these things called the Issachar Lectures. Basically, for you guys who may know Issachar, the people of Issachar in the Bible is a tribe of men who are the tribe of Issachar were people who, it says the men of Issachar, were men who knew the times and knew what to do with the times. And I just of the belief that we need to be people who understand what God has instituted his scriptures for us to do, not only just to discern the times and discern what's happening in our culture, because there's a lot of people who are just shouting into the void of social media and just giving thoughts. And I don't know if it's a whole lot of wisdom. It's a lot of information, but it may not be a whole lot of wisdom. And so, and what we want to do is equip people to not only understand and discern the times, but to know what to do in those particular times. So we're gonna each month starting in August we're gonna have a like these lectures that are dealing with kind of like the church and just subject matters that we think the church can address. It can be everything from, I don't know, gun violence, sexuality, to, you know, music, to the arts, to justice, prison reform, to the church. But the first one is August 25th here in Atlanta, 7 p.m. here in Atlanta at Blueprint Church. Come through, engage, join. You're not going to be in town?
No.
Bro.
I got a wedding.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully that wouldn't change your life, because this is going to change
This
lives.
would, yeah.
I hope you walk away a soldier in the Lord because of that wedding. And I hope that wedding makes it, because I've been to some weddings, I'll be like, this ain't going to work.
Hey,
I'm going to tell you right now.
They Christians, bro.
And look, I've been to Christian weddings, I was like, this ain't going to work. This one, I'm going to tell y'all right now, this one ain't going to last that long.
Dang. That'd
But
be wild. Be
praise
seeing
God,
that.
a lot of them. Yo, I remember, shout out my man. I'm not going to say his name, though. But you know who he is in Texas, did in Texas. I guess you could say I was discipling this young man. Mm-hmm. And he met this girl in Chipotle randomly. Just walked up to her and started spitting game at this girl at Chipotle. And start. He said, as you should.
As you should.
Well, see, back then I was a total like, oh, bro, you need to meet a girl in the church. So he just ran a girl. He didn't know this girl. Just walked up to her, off a look, started spitting game at her, started dating her, and eventually they got engaged. And during the engagement, the dating process, I was like, bro, this ain't gonna work, bro. This is. Y'all are unequally yoked. This is a
Okay, as you shouldn't.
yeah.
It's a little bit different.
But they, I guess she's grown in her faith. He's grown in their faith, and they still together, loving the Lord.
That's crazy.
So
Bro,
sometimes
hope.
don't listen to me. More of the story is I'm a jerk, and I don't know it all. So let's see if there's any questions. Theonomy, my man Sean up here talking to theonomy. Yes, I guess you can say it's an, it's an aspect of theonomy. Yes. NYC, Sister Rachel. What part of NYC are you in? Oh, girl said not as you should.
Nah.
Rachel says don't walk up. Rachel says do not walk up to people and just spit game. Would you? So not literally.
Nah.
Would you? Are you cool with that? Are you cool with just walking up to
No.
a random woman you don't know her? You just
Probably that's not my thing, but I'm also like, man, that's a whole nother thing we could talk about. I'm like, what do you do then? You don't want somebody to walk up to you.
You're not supposed to meet people like in social settings.
You can, but I'm like, even then it's like, don't come up to me if I'm talking. I'm like, okay, what are we supposed to do? That's
Don't come up to me. What? Finish the sentence.
if you're like, I feel like I've also seen people, not personally, but I've seen where if like a group of girls are out and like a guy tries to approach a girl, it's like it just turns bad for him, and vice versa too. So it's like, I was like, wait, what are we supposed to do? You want somebody bold?
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
hey, I'm like, bet, let him do his thing then.
Well, you do your thing like in a church setting, in a
That's fair.
social
Yeah.
settings, at
You're
somebody's house hanging out.
Sorry,
Not at Chipotle, my guy.
I'm not gonna say.
Look, form meets function. So whatever you're trying to get, that you should probably go to the place where they have that.
Yes.
There
Yeah,
At
yeah,
Chipotle,
yeah.
all you have is people that want Mexican-ish bowls.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
you
I
just
wouldn't even
disclaimer.
call it Mexican.
I
though,
took
but
I
yes.
took out
Whatever
Chipotle. I
that
forgot they were at Chipotle.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, what is he supposed to do? Not talk to her? Be
No.
like, hey,
That's
she
what I'm
cute.
saying. Random. It was just Chipotle. It was like she's in line
Yeah.
getting that guac. She's trying to get that extra guac, and he
Right.
like, hey, let me tell you about Jesus.
Yeah. Hey,
that right there.
No, not in the
that's-
gospel way. Not in the gospel way. Let me tell you about my Savior. No, yeah. I do think, there's a whole lot of conversations that you can have around dating
Yeah.
and
that would
how
be
do
a good
you
topic.
date, marriage. I just try to stay away from that stuff because I just feel. I'm just gonna be 100 with y'all. I try to stay away from clickbaitish stuff because I just feel like it's so easy.
Yeah.
And people who build platforms on that kind of stuff, I just have a little something. I just don't get excited about chasing what's popular and always talking about what's popular, and that's even though I do think it's helpful though, because there's some people who do it I think do it well, and I do think that's necessary, but it's just because I think after a while it's just you begin to just it's almost like you create content. The content becomes empty because you're trying to force. Like it's like, oh, I gotta just continue to talk about this, and like after a while you run out of stuff. It's like move on. You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
I mean, I think throwing it in the mix is helpful. Along with it's just like a good DJ. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna throw some. Some people just want the DJ to play straight top 100 hits, no matter where, no matter what, no matter when. But then some people are like, nah, I want to like learn some songs and be like, oh snap, you know, I want some fire mixes that I never heard before. And so the DJ has to navigate, throwing a little bit of this, a little bit of that in there. So it's like, I mean, I think there is the point to where sometimes it's clickbait because a lot of people genuinely just want to hear as much as they can about the subject, and so to have.
But most of the times, what's happening is I find myself getting caught in this. Is folks will say, like, for instance, today I was hanging with my mom, and there was like this dude who had a video about Oprah and Dave Chappelle. And I don't know the drama that's happening between Oprah and all these people, but it was like they were playing the woman. You know how they did like the artificial intelligence to do like the narration, and there was supposed to be this lead up to what Dave Chappelle said, but we never got to hear him say it.
Oh, yeah.
It was they said Dave Chappelle said this, and Dave Chappelle said. I was like, but can I see a video clip of him saying it though?
Yes.
And that's what I find all these videos do. They say that they're going to, and they never actually give
like
you
for,
the information.
Like for part 2.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, bro, like no.
Yeah,
And so I just stopped.
know
I
that
just
kind of
stopped. I just stopped chasing it. So I just was like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. But the other thing is like, we are fascinated with celebrity culture. It's just in a way that I think is quite unhealthy.
And that was another thing that I think we could have taken in terms of thinking about the drift. And I think this conversation wasn't necessarily addressing why did we drift, but why did we come back when each of us drifted. But I do think that the social media thing is part of the reason why, like, especially now, we don't get to see restoration. Because the church is so public and like now more than ever churches have to protect their witness because any sort of slip up that the world gets they want to throw all the fire at the church.
Yeah,
and
especially
so now
if
it's
there's a
at the
public
point where it's like
big public figure or something like that.
but whatever you feel about Carl Lentz, you know what I'm saying? For Christians, we're like, dang, you know, there's probably a system or a brand of church that was unhelpful in fostering that, and he even said that, you know. But that's not the church.
No.
But a lot of people, that and Blueprint are the exact same thing. And so at some point,
that makes sense.
it's fostering to where he has to get caught or he has to not get caught. And, you know, Ravi Zacharias, like, it comes out later, but, like, you have to hide it to the take things to the grave for the sake of not ruining the witness of not just yourself
is that
or
the
church,
fault?
but the whole thing. But I'm just saying, like, the weight of what's happened slowly but surely as one person does it, and then now this person, and now we're seeing scandals, and now it's like, oh, this is the view of the church. The church is full of scandals. The church is full of, you know, I think we unintentionally, over time, slowly but surely, created an environment to where you have to pretend you're perfect.
Yes.
And you have to eliminate sin and disavow yourself with any sin rather than show the world that's how y'all handle things. Y'all cancel. This is how we handle things. I think, and it's become a place where it's pendulum swung to a certain level of toxicity, vitriol, like you were saying, taking the world's methods and putting Jesus on it and how we execute. And so a lot of people for legitimate reasons or without enough of an investigation didn't feel safe in the spaces that they happen to be in or with the whole broader church because they weren't mature enough to say that is not this.
No, I think that's you, bro. You killed it. You killed it. I think part of the problem is that the more it's the success syndrome. You know, if I am a pastor who is, or listen, there's some good questions, and I'm gonna come to that question, Ben, because I see that, but I want to if I'm an individual who, let's just say I've done great community engagement and I've killed it in this community with community engagement and people are being changed, well, it would end up happening is that people hear about that and they're like, hey, come speak at my church, come speak at this conference. And what happens is I begin to speak, I begin to travel, and I begin to do all this thing. But what's actually happening is also pulling me away from the work that I'm doing here in some ways, right? And the more I become inoculated with or intoxicated with the national platform of being this individual who does great community service in this local context, the actually probably the less effective I am here. And then what happens is I feel like, well, that's a good thing because now I am actually helping other people learn how to do great community engagement, right? And you try to sustain that and you begin to sustain that. And I think part of the greater issue with Christianity is this fact that we are not, we just, for some reason, it's not enough just to be local and intimate. And we are desiring so much for public platforms. We desire to influence so many people. And I've had this problem myself. I was happy when I remember just rapping in front of 10 people and then, or just doing it literally because I was wilding out on my college campus. I became a Christian and I was like, oh, now I'm gonna show you guys how you can do this for Jesus and just being effective in that. And then the more we would do it, the more popular we got, and we got invited all of the other places. Then it was like, well, how do I sustain this platform and forget the actual local service of what I was doing? And that is the problem with even the pastor. And we are, it's, and I think I talked about this on our last live stream. It's so much easier to have less responsibility to the people that you actually do life with because they can touch you, they see the mess that you're in, their needs are actually tangible. But when I am preaching to the void, like I don't really have to do life with them. You know what I'm saying? I make jokes sometimes when I speak at conferences. I love speaking at conferences because what I'm able to do is throw out these grand truths and these bombs, and I just leave them for y'all, and I leave. Y'all don't even know if I'm living it. You know what I mean? I go home. You know what I mean? And the reality is I can't do that at home because people call you out on it. I can't talk about how I'm loving my wife or how I'm doing this or I'm out here sharing the faith or I'm giving or I'm charitable. Folks will be like, wait, hold up.
We ain't seen you.
Like, Sho, you know, oh, I'm a servant. I serve, y'all. I serve. And it's like, bro, we asked you to do something on Sunday morning. And you know? Like, you was too big for that. I'll never forget, bro. I'll never forget when we first started Blueprint. We were the hip hop church. And so anyway, we had to, we had like a little nightclub that we would do church out of over by Atlantic Station. And there was a bar there on Saturday night. Sunday morning, we had to come in and clean. And so I was one of the people who used to come, clean, scrub to bathroom walls, throw beer in trash cans, put out tables. And I remember so many people, and this is when Lions and Liars was just popping. So I'm like, you know, and Lecrae was there as well. So we are there serving, and people were like, bro, this is amazing to see you guys like actually like grunt work. Like, this is amazing stuff. So anyway,
that real quick, it made me wonder, and this is maybe something we can talk about off screen. But like, I'm always curious of how maybe my heart's coming from like a worry, but for anybody who's famous, like all these like, you know, famous like artists, worship leaders, all these things, and it's like, man, like what happens when y'all are gone all the time on the road, or if you. Like if I look on your Instagram and you're just gone, I'm like, oh yeah, where's the church? Like,
no, there is. You become. That's a whole. That's a whole nother. Bro, I've had this soapbox for a while. I think it's a very dangerous place to be because you talk about the local church. At some point, you either gotta come to a reality that the local church isn't important because you are no longer attached to it. Or you got to lie and just say the local church is important, but you actually have no real accountability or attachment to that thing. Because I remember us being on tour for long periods of time and on the stage telling people, man, get disciple, get, involved, submit to your elders, your leadership, whatever. And at the same time, we weren't really doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's well, I ain't gonna say all of us, but most of us weren't. And then when we do return, there is, to some degree, there's very little. You know what I mean? And that's why I think a lot of us are detaching ourselves, or deconstructing what it means to be a Christian, is because it's convenient for us to live the lives we really want to live.
Yes. Yeah.
Not necessarily saying wild out in sin, because a lot of folks aren't out here wilding out, but they have to. They are now detaching themselves from the responsibility of one another.
Yes. Yes.
And that is what the Christian faith is about. When you look at Acts, it is about sacrificing your own selfish interest for one another.
Yes.
And like, hey, they shared in everything. They had money that they shared, food that they shared, time, talent, resources. Right. And we don't really want all of that. We barely invite people in our houses. And anyway.
Yeah.
To go back, I just want to answer this one question. I did say we was gonna jump off a while ago, but
I ain't got
Ben said, "Is it problematic to use clickbait to get gospel messages across?" I wouldn't say. I don't think there's anything inherently evil with using clickbait to get gospel messages across, but I just don't like it. I'm just not a fan of it. But it's here's the thing. And this is a controversial statement I'm about to make. Okay. At some point, I had a conversation with a dude who works in public relations marketing. And I said, at what point does the Christian have to challenge himself or wrestle with the reality that a lot of marketing, to me, and he didn't agree with this statement, but I that a lot of marketing is manipulation.
100%.
Yep.
That's something that I've always thought about, but then when I think about something else, because I'm like, man, that is. But I think about that. It's in Luke. I don't exactly remember where, but Jesus tells a parable of a of a servant who is about to get fired by his master or something like that. And so he goes and makes all these crooked deals, and then Jesus basically says yo, the world knows how to use whatever they got in order to make stuff happen. Yeah. We should be like that, but for the kingdom. Right. And so in the same way, I'm like, I think there is a conscience thing to where if you feel like, nah, this is pure manipulation, then no matter what, you doing it is sin. Absolutely. But in some cases, the clickbait, in order to give people real gospel, if that's what works,
that's what I'm saying.
It's a hard thing to that. I guess, to answer the question, it's
Rachel said it's distasteful. I agree. I personally think it's distasteful.
Absolutely.
I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I think there's ways of titling things to get people's attention, and then there's just manipulation.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like, why I start worshiping the devil. Oh, no. I can literally make a video say I worship the devil. And then be like, but that was back in the day, y'all.
Yeah. Every time I submit myself to sin, I am worshiping
the devil.
I hate those videos.
That's what I'm saying.
I do hate
it's
that.
like, what?
Man.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, it's come on, cuz we know you're not.
Bro, me and my boys got a group message on Instagram. Anytime stuff like that pops up, we're like, bro, we're sending each other, like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man. My stance on it would be that, I think my conviction is I don't want to do it because I've been told for so many years I don't have to defend the Lord. I don't have to do anything extra.
Say word.
And it's that's where I kind of wrestle with it, because I'm like, when I think clickbait, I think about what y'all just said. Yeah. I worship the devil and be like, whoa, and then when I do this, and it's like, what? And then it's dang, this person got me to click on this. I guess he's telling the truth, but I don't like what just was said.
Right. Yeah.
I think when it's leading or drawing you in to figure out what is he talking about merely, that's good marketing.
Yes.
When it's deception or a bait and switch, that's just deception.
Yeah.
It's just manipulation.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if it's N.T. Wright gives a great example on why atheists are wrong, that's enough for me. That's not clickbait. That's not. It's just he gives a boom. Let me watch this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it's anti-right, destroys,
Yo, I
needs
thought-
this person to be suicidal or something. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, look, we don't need all that. But you got to imagine, like, there's hundreds of thousands of videos being uploaded probably, daily or whatever. And people are trying to figure out how to get their videos. Like, I sit here and I'm like, all right, we got like 8 to 9 people watching right now. And I'm like, bro, I would love to get to a place where I'm having 1,000 people watching live.
Yeah.
And I can think of things that can probably do that. But I'm like, one, easily get somebody who's really popping right now in an interview. 2, get a well, I mean, you guys are popping.
Hey, I'm coming up. I'm
Somebody
on.
with like 1 million views.
Okay,
I mean,
fair
1 million followers. Like,
Oh,
hey,
okay.
let me hit up, such and such. You willing to do an interview with me? Not only that, let's talk about an issue that is very, like, pop culture, wavy. So anything around sexualities, did I use that term? What was that?
No.
Anything from sexuality to marriage to, I don't know, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you'll get a lot of people. And for me, I think that's dope in a sense that those people are going to give informative, thoughtful answers, and those topics are necessary. But I'm just not that kind of person.
Yeah.
I even think about the type of music I make. Like, I'm just not the kind of person who makes what I think is popular in the particular moment. I just like, man, I am a dude who has his own identity brand. And that also is what hurts me in a lot of ways because I don't follow trends.
Yeah.
And I could be more popular if I did, but I just don't. And but the crazy thing is that's also why I have a really interesting fan base. You know what I mean? And the types of opportunities that I have afforded to me is because of the way that I think that I present myself in a kind of topic. So, like, the last live stream I did was about AI and virtual reality. Like, I thought it was an amazing topic. Didn't get, as many views as my other videos, which is fine. But I'm like, this kind of content is what people really need to be talking about, especially about, bro, we have people who are talking about we're not too far from downloading our consciousness into silicon hardware. Like, you can live in a hard drive.
I'm good. I'm good.
Miss me with that.
Yeah.
Bro,
Y'all got it.
So if we're not really talking about this theologically, what does that mean? Like, we're missing it. We're missing it.
Yeah.
What does it mean to have a body as a Christian?
Yes.
What does that mean? What is a soul? What is a soul? And if we're only talking about, what this politician did or what Kim Kardashian's doing, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, bro, like,
I
doing
think-
videos about Travis Scott's drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's what in sales was like a big thing. The reason what makes people successful, and it probably even kind of helps this guy's like, I feel like the question Ben asked about clickbait is you got to remember your why. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. And I feel like when I'm listening to what you're talking about, you're like, my why, yes, would be I would love to have 1,000 people. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, I want to talk about stuff that I want to talk about.
Absolutely.
That, like, hey, it's going to be like the way I want to do it. It's going to be how I want to do it, and ultimately it's glorify the Lord. And I'm like, okay, well, that's your why. Don't it will come if that's what the Lord wants. And He wants you to have 1,000, 1 million every time you go live. I'm like, that's awesome, but we got to stick to like why we did this.
Bro, it's been a pleasure.
Always.
Thank you, Lawrence, for coming through.
Yes, sir.
Why don't y'all share your Instagrams or whatever?
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Instagram.
Go ahead, bro.
Your TikTok.
Hey, I love when you
Give
say
the
it.
people
I don't
your
have
TikToks.
TikTok. I don't have Twitter. I don't have TikTok. I literally just got Instagram. Don't look.
It's funny. I was listening to this video and the dude was saying, like, every generation, if you will, and I use that word loosely, grows with a particular social media platform and they stop there. And like my generation is pretty much Instagram. It seems like we're stopping at Instagram. Like, I'm not, like, Threads just popped off. I'm like, I was like, I just can't. I don't have the energy. I'm definitely not doing TikTok.
No.
And there may be something else. There's another generation. TikTok may be their last thing. They do or they did. And then there's another generation where there's probably something else that's gonna come out that they'll do, and it's like I just
Downloading consciousness.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
sort of AI, but yeah. So anyway, Instagram.
I love it when he says it. You said
What?
my Instagram handle.
Oh yeah, that's law.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's
law.
what it is.
So is it
Hard.
spelled THATSLAW?
Yeah, I have to look it up. No.
He said
Anyway,
that's. He said,
mine-
You go for it.
how do you have to look up your own?
Because of
Yeah, that's crazy.
you got to because a lot of people had it. It's simple. It's that's and then dot law LAW_.
Oh, okay.
Oh, word. That's simple.
Okay, there's a
enough.
lot of
Yeah.
punctuations in
Mine
it.
is
I had no choice.
Saint X Jeremiah, pretty much wherever I am. But
What
I'm
is
not
the
on
X
Twitter.
for? It's just a
Space.
space.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. And mine is that brother show.
Why you?
It's not even that.
Yeah.
It's not even that.
He did it.
It's gonna be someone genuinely trying to find you, but it's just that brother.
Don't worry,
show.
I'll get it up for you real quick. You better call up the live
It's
stream.
Sho Baraka. Am I Sho Baraka? It just works out that way.
That is
You
hard.
know what I'm saying?
It
It
is.
just
That
works
is
out that
hard.
way. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Thank y'all for joining us. Hopefully this was an encouraging conversation. We will let you know what actually, I probably should have said this. Go to myboulevard.co. My Boulevard is an organization I work with, and there's some dope things that are coming out. One in particularly is the podcast, the audio. I know for sure these last couple recordings that I've done, maybe not this one, because we were all over the place. But it's just playing. I know for sure the AI conversation, we're going to be moving that over to the My Boulevard, and I'm starting a podcast over there, and it'll be more editorial. It's not going to be like conversational. It'll be more like interviews edited into editorial form, and I am super excited. We have some dope ideas coming through, so myboulevard.co, but you can also go there because I have a masterclass that I'm releasing in about a week or so. I did a webinar that you can go watch right now, but there's a resource called City Syllabus where you would have to pay for a subscription, but there's a whole lot of different courses and classes that you can take with your friends, your ministry, your spouse, whoever, and just like everything from emotional intelligence and emotional health to a course on shame that was just released. That joint is beautiful. To like how to maximize your time. So it's just a bunch of useful stuff. So go to myboulevard.co. I'll put it in the comment section. But bless y'all. Have a wonderful time. And we are going to see you later.